Hello, I'm Julia Woning and today I'm going to show you how you can create this seaside with the Daniël Smith extra fine watercolors. I created this project for my new Dutch book, Aquarel Workshop. It's a watercolor book with all sorts of projects and explaining about how you can create beautiful watercolor projects. Here you can see that I create a wet on wet surface technique for the sky, and I'm also using a tissue paper. Lots of water, creating those colors, letting those pigments of the Daniël Smith flowing through the wet surface to create a beautiful sky. Again with some tissue paper, building up those colors. When it's dry, I create the water, much more color and horizontal lines in the pigments. Then again with the tissue paper and building it up, creating an atmosphere of the water and building it up. I like this surface because it's a celluloid paper, so you can mix around with your water and your brushes and your tissue paper, no problem. Building it up. Every time you build it up, you can do it in wet on wet, or you have to wait until it's dry, or you can help it by using a blow dryer, getting more contrast. Building it up. Now it's dry. That's important when you start with the rocks, that the color of the rocks don't flow in the water or in the sky, so you have to be careful. So have patience or use a blow dryer. In the back it's light, in the front has more contrast, so you build it up. And you can see I'm using a lot of color. Ochre, sienna, umber. Mix it all together and create an atmosphere that you can see on your reference photo. I created this project for my newest book, Aquarel Workshop. It's a Dutch book where I explain how you can start with watercolor, and there are several projects and they will come along also on my YouTube channel, so you can join me in my journey in my watercolor book. But here you can see the seaside, and what you also see now, what I'm doing is getting more contrast in the front of the picture, more pigments, creating the form so you get more depth. Some depth behind those rocks, underneath the lighthouse. Again, working from back to front, from light to dark, and building it up. And you see I create the color in all the back, because then you have a more atmosphere, more, how do you explain it in English? Same color. If you work one spot out in all those different layers, it's very difficult to get the same color atmosphere at the other place in your project. So be aware of that you switch your colors between those areas where you need that color. So that's why I'm switching from back to front with those different colors. Building it up. And you can see this is a time-lapse version. There is also a real-time version without any comment, but then you can see one-on-one what I'm doing. Again, creating contrasts. Every time you want to have a darker color, place it on top of the lighter color. I'm building up layer by layer to create more darkness. Now I'm using much more contrast in those rocks in the front. Careful in the background. That has to be much more lighter than in the front. Some more reddish tone in those rocks. And you can apply that on top of it. Be aware that you leave out some white because that's the vivid of the painting, if you know what I mean. The openness of this drawing or painting is when you leave some white of the paper open. Some purple grayish. Again, the tissue paper is a must in this technique to create those beautiful tones, even those darker tones, again on top of those rocks. Now I will go to the lighthouse, and I'm using a very small brush, of course, to get some details done there. The house. Building it up, bit by bit, detail by detail. Always looking at your reference photo, that's important. Yeah, almost there. Now I'm using the contrast in the darker tones. Maybe I want to create some contrast in the lighter tones, but we had to leave out those areas and use the white of the paper. But sometimes it's nice to use some extra white. Then you can choose between acrylic or ink, but I'm using a pencil pigment from Brush and Pencil that you can dissolve with water. And the nice thing is, if you go wrong, you can erase it again, and that's difficult with your acrylics or ink. So this is my watercolor tip for today. Hope you enjoyed this project. Until the next time, bye!